Hello my friends and welcome to episode 29. It's deployment for Smolensk. I want to say that's how that's pronounced. Obviously I'm not Russian, so forgive me if I have gotten that wrong. Smolensk. If I had done it in a Norwegian accent, that might be closer to the truth, to be honest with you. For de har veldig interesting språk I Norge. Anyway. Moving swiftly on. This would normally be the point where I would just take River Assault off these two KVs. Recover my field repairs heroes. Speaking of which, I probably don't need to have my field repairs hero on this thing, because it's such a monster that actually damaging it is pretty difficult. And so I could probably afford to have that on a more frontline unit. Something like this flame tank. But anyway, I would normally put these back, deploy, and then away we go. In fact, I will do that. If it takes damage, I'll just put field repairs on it later. Although I really have nothing else to put field repairs on right now that's worth putting it on. Maybe I'll just leave it where it is. Okay. So I would normally deploy and just let them self-repair, but I'm not going to do that. In fact, what I am going to do is I'm just going to press the repair all button, because there's nothing here that I want to self-repair. The AA guns are sorted. And the reason why is, and so this is something which I've been talking about for a long time now. Just one second. The KV2 has been a total, a total blessing for us in the last 2 years. But I think part of the reason why we were given it is because for a 5-slot tank, it's not that good. So I did say that there would come a time when the KV starts to lose its shine, and that's about now. Because at the moment, we don't have any 5-slot tanks. Just the KV. So there's really been nothing to compare it to. But now, we, for the first time really, have some tanks from the similar class. So, mid-war tanks that are 4 slots and 5 slots. And both of them are arguably better than the KV2. Now, the KV1 effectively is slightly better against tanks, enjoys more ammo, 16 infantry attack is still plenty for that role, has slightly less defense but gains a point of movement for it. So I would say that the KV1 is better than the KV2. The KV2 does have the benefit that it can turn into a into an artillery piece, which is situationally useful. However, one of the biggest problems with the KV2, and even potentially the KV1, is that they are both outperformed by the T-3440, which is a 4-slot tank. Is one of the it's one of the early tanks in the 4-slot class. But there will definitely be tanks in the 4-slot class that are better than early 5-slot tanks. And of course, there are plenty of 5-slot tanks which are much better than the KV1 and the KV2. So I knew that the moment where the KV2 gets retired would come eventually. But I didn't think it would come so soon. As you can see here, the T-34, which is the 1940 version, comes with Obviously, 2 slots less, fully over strength, more fuel, more ammo. Not that these things are usually relevant, but the KV does regularly run out of ammo, so that extra ammo might be useful. The exact same attack stats, and in terms of defense stats, it's got 1 more initiative, slightly less defense, and 6 movement compared to 4. So the tank is just better. And you may think, well, it's not quite as good defensively. 2 points is pretty significant for defense. But it has +1 initiative, so in a direct combat calculation, that extra point of initiative is significant. And considering the amount of hit and run heroes I have, that could be potentially the difference between no retaliation and being retaliated on. So, what I am going to do is I am going to switch. We're going full Russian here. This is like the Spanish Civil War all over again. I am going to switch to T40s, which is going to free up 2 core slots for me. Interestingly as well, now that this is a 4-slot tank, which means it comes to 8 slots total, there's also a potential that other things are better uses of the half-slots heroes. Although at the moment, I'm pretty sure it's only the Emil and the 21cm gun that are more slot intensive. I think everything else is pretty cheap. And as we get more of these T-3440s, we may be tempted to retire our 3Hs. Because the extra slot will be worth it. That is another thing, is that, you know, we have a potential here to, and obviously it's just flat out better. We have the potential for a for upgrading all of our MBTs to T-3440s and being able to afford it by doing it this way. Okay. Oh, and one thing I was going to say is, you know, obviously these things can't switch into artillery. That's really the only big sacrifice we're making. But with the extra slots, which with a half-slot hero it's a little bit less significant, but the extra slots, you could buy a small artillery and actually utilize it for that exact purpose. So it, you know, it's one of those funny things where, you know, never forget, as it were, that something like a Stug, which is reasonably similar to what the KV-2 can do as a support artillery, also only costs 2 slots. Although I would personally rather just run 15cm guns, but the thought is there. Right, so now the question becomes, what do we do with the 2 slots that we have just acquired? And that is a good question. I was going to suggest an extra recon, just for the sake of having a bit more recon. In an ideal world, I would want to overstrengthen this more. But obviously I can't afford to. It's I also have, you know, distraction hero available, which works best on a recon. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a quick look and see if I can shave a slot out of something without really compromising any of my units. Some units do benefit more than others from overstrength. Especially my aircraft. I could give up one of my recon planes, but I am a big fan of recon planes. Do you know what? Let's just leave this line up like this. Yeah. See, you kind of want to get the numbers... How do I want to leave it like this? You kind of want to get the numbers higher because this thing is effectively as soft as infantry, but doesn't have the size to really absorb damage like infantry does. Do you know what? This has got no retaliation, so it really doesn't need to be uber-sized. It's actually a pretty hard decision, this. It's funny how stingy you can become with core slots. I'm not reducing the size of these because they are my main battle tanks that really lead my front line. And also they've got half slots, so it doesn't really make sense to steal from them. It might make sense to steal from this, but this beast, because of its rapid fire, it really benefits from being oversized. More than any other vehicle, it benefits from that. Of course, this is 0 slots, so there's no point in chipping away from that. That's genuinely superior to this. Okay, I'm gonna reduce the size of my strat bomber just a little bit. At full power it was very nice, but... or at least at more power. I can't have this recon team be so weak. A little bit of extra size can be the difference between life and death for a recon team because they're just so fragile. That honestly, their greatest defense is their numbers, not any other factor. Okay, alright. We got lots of forest down here, and we got lots of forest up here. Let's send this team down the bottom. These two weaker teams up the top. Ooh. Plus these two weaker teams, one of them's the engineers, which will probably be needed for city clearance. This is like the most direct route to the city. I'm thinking that the main thrust of my push should be to go down this corridor, get a foothold here, then take that. Interestingly, that major river has no breaks in it anywhere. So unless you bring bridge engineers, you actually cannot get across. Unless you bring bridge engineers or you smash your way through the heart of the town. Something to consider. In fact, I think I nearly made a grave tactical mistake here. Good old bridge engineers. I think it would be very wise to actually bring an engineering team. Huh. That's funny. Apparently, putting a transport on bridge engineers increases their costs pretty enormously. Not just by a single slot. They go from costing 2 to costing 4. But what this does is it adds its stats to the unit. So this unit goes from having 4 infantry attack to having 8, which is pretty enormous. Those trucks are worth more than the bridge engineers. Okay. Let's give them a camo like we care. Okay, alright. Yeah, I think it's wise to bring some bridge engineers actually, because this river is a single unbroken obstacle and there are no bridges here at all. Like, at all. The only bridges are gonna be heavily defended, I'm sure. Interestingly, it looks like there used to be a bridge here, but it was destroyed. Okay, alright. Now let's set up our 2 teams. One team to push the bottom, one team to push the top. So the bottom team, I think we deploy it here and bring it this way. So it needs a recon, it needs an MBT, it needs an artillery, it needs an anti-aircraft gun. And our front team that's going to push, I think we'll probably ignore this and just push this way. Well, I say ignore it, I mean we'll probably still capture it, but do you know what? It needs a recon, but I'll put the recon up here so I can just quickly grab that if there's nothing there. I'll use the spy planes to scout forward for this team. So it needs a recon, it needs a tank, it needs a 15 centimeter, and it needs an anti-aircraft gun. Okay. Each team should have its own surrender machine. Let's put this on the main team, and we'll put these two on the side team. This thing is easily worth the cost of admission of these two. Now that leaves effectively our anti-tank, our heavy artillery anti-tank, and our real anti-tank. Now there'll probably be artillery defending that. And there definitely will be artillery defending that. I think the 21 centimeter should probably follow down the bottom. Because this is going to be the first point where I'm going to need artillery counter battery. And then, once they clear that and this team moves forward, that 21 centimeter can come up from behind here. If you look at the terrain situation here, you've got a couple of hills here that are a little bit... so this has got a range of 4, if I remember correctly. 4. So from the hills, you can reach just the edge of the town, which should probably be plenty of targets there. However, if you look at the other side of the city, you've got all these hills here, and from these hills you would reach the whole city if you could get this one, or get near enough. There's also a hill here which covers up to here. So this might potentially let you take this, which then lets you take this. So I think the artillery has got more opportunities if it goes down the bottom. That leaves this to be the anti-tank for up here. Okay, air team, put them at the most central airport, which is this one, for now. Plus 1 recon plane here and 1 recon plane here. So these recon planes will just push straight forward, revealing the whole area for me. Okay, and I think that's it. I'm not sure there's much more to learn from this map. We'll have the 2 assault teams push forward, form a line here, form a line here. And then if we set up air bases here and here, or we simply capture this one on the outskirts, we can scout these 2 bonus objectives and see what's defending them. Go and get them while we lay siege to the city. Speaking of laying siege to the city is obviously encirclable. There's no supply hex. The only problem is this is a minor river, so it still provides supply. So encircling this side is easy because this is all major river. So you know you can just put a unit like as far back as here, 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 and here, and you would be done from quite a distance. But from down here it's not so easy, because you've got this river in the way, but it still provides supply. So to block this in any meaningful way, obviously it's easy from this side. You just put a unit here, one here, and these rough tiles would protect it, and one here. That blocks that part quite easily. But then you got to somehow consider either being on the opposite side of the river, and we've got the airport on the opposite side as well, so... and some rough tiles here. I think getting a unit, and it needs to be here, or as far back as here, and then here. Getting a unit back there to complete your encirclement might be a pain in the ass. Just depends on how much is there. But anyway, I'm not racing for encirclements because, frankly, most of my units could really benefit from kills now, and capturing is about money, sometimes equipment, and I really don't need money. Alright, that is it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed deployment, and I'll see you guys next time. Next time, Gadget. Next time.